when there's something dumb on, like a soap opera with a man in a Speedo and a sort of a hairy back called Leaf or Ridge or Canary Island, I don't know, go then. In your pantry you'll probably find that more than one food item is made by a company called Tiger Brands, one of our biggest food suppliers in the country, and they're about to go open source. How do you think they could possibly count all those cans, boxes, other things wrapped in paper, some not in paper, and others never in wood, for example? Well, of course, they use computers.
Think of what you buy every month when you do your grocery shopping. Tiger Brands touches our lives and our stomachs in more ways than one, with products ranging from breakfast cereals to main meals, from sweets to pharmaceuticals. It's a company with IT requirements that can only be described as large.
Tiger Brands is on our live network, almost 3,500 users, encompassing 136 sites around the country, about 150 odd servers, excluding our application servers. Large.
For a company like this, data is immensely valuable. The entire inventory has to be controlled, from the manufacturer to the supply and delivery.
We run quite a large Oracle environment, Oracle applications. That is pretty much the food manufacturing system. It handles the raw materials, production, right the way up to delivery and dispatch to the customer or to the stores, running all centrally as well.
Although they had used open source in several non-critical situations, the Oracle application had always run on proprietary Unix. But when they were faced with a software upgrade, they decided to investigate migrating to open source Linux.
How did the cost and efficiency and security affect you choosing open source versus proprietary?
For Tiger Brands, the cost is obviously an issue like every other company. The task was given to the IT department to come up with a solution which met all those requirements. Security being a strong aspect, uptime and availability of the system to the users, very huge factor. The task wasn't really to come up with an open source solution. That just happened. Everybody was really saying to us, including the provider of the application being Oracle, that there's no reason not to look at open source solutions.
In a company that handles financial transactions, security is naturally a major consideration. The question is often asked, how secure is open source?
The biggest argument's always been that with the code openly available, any hacker, cracker can see what's going on. But the argument to that is, and so be it, but the fixes come out as fast as the hackers and crackers find them. If so, quicker. In open source you have tens of thousands of developers working on the application worldwide all the time. With proprietary, pretty much it's small populations of developers which are overworked and overloaded. It's given us a host of options which we never had before.
There you go. So when we say open source means business, we mean business. And now it's time to meet some people whose business it is to get business involved in open source. This week, our Geek of the Week is from a company called Obsidian. He co-founded it. His name is Anton de Wet. Anton, thanks for joining us.
It's an absolute pleasure.
Tell me, you co-founded Obsidian.
Yeah, that's almost 10 years ago now. We were studying engineering at RAU University, and I saw this really interesting thing called Linux, played with it for a while, and then said, but I'm sure there must be a way to make some money out of this. So we started a business, and, well, it's 10 years on.
So just tell us a bit about what Obsidian does.
We use Linux in all sorts of ways. We've developed on it, we trained Linux, we sell Linux CDs, and nowadays you get supported Linux products which we sell as well. But what we mainly focus on is trying to get open source into the business world so that they can benefit from open source in various ways. You
yourselves weren't really kind of business-minded people
not at all. We were a bunch of engineers, a bunch of geeks that knew very little about business, and what we had to learn the hard way by doing it, seeing what works, and finding out how do you sell free software into a market that doesn't understand the concept whatsoever.
I mean, isn't it strange that people kind of find they react to something that's kind of more cost-effective with doubt rather than kind of diving into it? You
get two types of people. The one, if you say you're charging money for this, they say, how can you? It's free. And the other a bunch of people that say, but your competition is 10 times as expensive. How can this be good? So it's a very fine line to walk, and you have to explain to people the concepts behind it before you can even start selling it.
The bigger companies that you're doing projects for, you say they're embracing open source.
Well, one of the first big companies that we started doing open source work for was Nando's. And they originally said, well, what you're telling us sounds wonderful, but go prove yourself. Our system in South Africa is running. We don't have one in Australia, so go make it work there and show us. So I spent a month or 2, 3 there setting up a system that did all the communication systems for them, and they liked what they saw there, so I redid the whole system here in South Africa. And that's been running for about 5, 6 years now.
Anton, thanks very much for coming in.
Been my pleasure.
Anton de Vet from Obsidian. We're going to take a small tea break. Well, you take a tea break. We'll stay. We'll clear the table so you can come back with your tea, having done nothing. We've done all the work, and you can sit on the couch and enjoy the program while everyone here works really hard. I hope you feel terribly guilty, and you better enjoy this break. Right, off you go. Go. As his girlfriend once said, you can kiss my astronaut. Mark Shuttleworth is standing by with a look at an open source alternative to vector art programs.
Today we'll be doing it with Inkscape. Inkscape is a vector drawing package, so you use it to create line art on a PC. It's like Corel Draw or Adobe Illustrator or Aldus Freehand.
Unlike programs like Photoshop and the GIMP, which create bitmap artwork, vector programs create artwork that can be resized without creating artifacts, those jaggy edges that you get when you expand a bitmap too much. Although it's only on version 0.4, it is already remarkably mature. It saves documents in the web-friendly SVG format, with features like transparency, gradients, node editing, pattern fills, ping export, and more. The active SourceForge community contributes plugins, and there's a feature wishlist on their site, and upgrades and patches are being released monthly.
So if you think you're the next great design genius, then Inkscape is the free software tool you would use to develop your talent. It runs on both Windows and Linux. See you again same time next week.
For any information on the software that Mark's just featured, please go to our website, which you do by pointing your browser, or at the website, as you know, it's probably on the screen around about nowish. So that's fantastic. We give you free software on free CDs that's free, and there's no charge, and it's also gratis. So that's also quite a useful thing to have if you have nothing and you want something. That's how it works. Our website's really hot, but even hotter are the numbers, 441. But it's a little trick there, because they're not really 3 numbers that add up to 9, 441. They only add up to 5, because the middle 4 is actually the word for, F-O-R, so it's like 441. So there's 4 and 1, and that will all be explained in just a moment.
Wouldn't it be hot if you could buy one computer that 4 people could use simultaneously, running whatever software they need to run? The 441 is exactly that. Mushe Mafisa of the HPI Community Center in Limpopo explains.
The 441 is a computer that has 1 CPU, 1 hard drive, with 4 monitors connected to it, 4 keyboards and 4 mice. Instead of buying 4 machines, you buy just 1 machine. It does the job for 4 people. This is one product that was developed from South Africa, looking at the environment within South Africa as a whole, as a developing country, to find solutions that are tailor-made for our own environment.
Right now, this homegrown phenomenon is being used to create a call center industry in this poverty-stricken town, according to Marcel Couturier.
My company came in and we built the call center. Everything that you see around you here was built from us, from the technology right to the carpets, to everything. And at the same time, doing the facilitation of the call center support learnership. So the idea is, at the end of the day, to have the learners, once they qualify, to employ them in this call center. We've got the technology, we've got the infrastructure, we've got everything here. And now they've realized that because of our timelines, we can compete with the rest of the world.
The 441 is based on an open source Linux system.
It uses open source. So now it brings down the cost tremendously, not only from the hardware perspective, but also from the software perspective, where now you don't have to buy licensing. You just load the free open source software on it, and voila, there you go.
The 441 is also being piloted at the University of the North, where they have found it stretches their computing budget much further.
And now, get your sticky feet out, because we're going web crawling with Refilwe. And if you can, please call the police or an ambulance. I think I'm actually stuck on TV.
If one of your New Year's resolutions